Hey Troy, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too. Ever since we connected on LinkedIn, just seeing the growth of Jones Environmental and what you guys are doing and coming into this space, I think it's a great opportunity to kind of talk about what you have going on.
Absolutely. Got a lot of new stuff coming up and coming. Getting ready to do some more expanding. So, yeah, things are growing fast, really fast. So that's always a great thing for a new startup, especially in the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And because Jones Environmental, they've been around for many years, since 1984.
Yes,
But
yes,
started in Louisiana. And so the operation in Texas was something that was started. A few of you had kind of come over together from another company and
correct.
joined forces, so to speak, with Jones Environmental.
It's there's three of us that originally started the Dallas Fort Worth office or branch. For the most part, when we started out, it was kind of rough. We had to do a lot of broker work, so to speak, leasing trucks, leasing trucking companies, uh, hands, everything to get it up and going. Um, Now we're to the point where we have eight field techs slash drivers. Um, we have a full tank cleaning crew now. Um, Two tankers, two dry vans. So it's growing really fast, and we actually just purchased the brand new trailer, but we also got a drop deck trailer to do specialty work for totes, glass board, things of that nature, that are going for. Unfortunately, nobody can really recycle the glass board, so it's tougher. But we have an avenue to get rid of it, and the ability to transport it. Um, and we're actually looking at buying another drop deck trailer, and expanding our roll off division. We just pulled in a roll off truck and trailer, and we have four boxes right now. We're looking at bringing on six or eight more boxes, and probably two or three more customers. They're going to be dealing with open tops or roll off boxes.
Oh, I think I remember you telling me about that it was for electrical.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some recovery for electrical components, computer scrap, things of that nature, and it's all going to be going to a facility for 100% recycling. So they'll be able to capture the plastics, the metal, the precious metals, all that, and help bring it back to a reusable state instead of having it go to a landfill or have it incinerated for worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean that's so valuable because I mean so many things do just end up in a landfill, but is that lack of knowledge of what you can do with it, or having someone like Jones Environmental that have those different markets that you can uh, utilize?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that all of us, the three of us that originated the DFW area, all come from a little bit different part of the environmental world. Like I have a lot of background in has waste, of course, but I have a lot of additional knowledge in reuse and recycle. Um, so anything that we can try to reuse or recycle is always the key spot for us to try to go to. Is it always the best solution as far as cost or value? Value, yes. Cost, sometimes
Mm.
it's very cost prohibitive. Um, and it's not because it's the nature of the beast. It's just it's actually what the customer is willing to spend to keep the materials either one out of the landfill or going to some other type of fuel source or incineration. Incineration here lately has gotten to the point where it's outrageously expensive. So we try not to send anything for incineration. And it's also tough. It's getting tougher. I'll say it that way, to get things into an incineration. So for us to try to detour it or find a place or a better home for it that's more cost effective and easier to deal with, that's what we try to shoot for. And it also helps out the generator too. Um, if they can take their materials and show it that it's getting or put into a reuse program, it helps drop their generator status, less steers reporting. You know, there's a whole plethora of things that
Mm-hmm.
change their whole world for them on their reporting side too. So
Yeah.
it makes it tough and it makes it fun at the same time.
Yeah, because there's so many different variables, and really it's just a matter of being able to reuse or recycle, like what the most cost-effective solution is for your customers, but wanting to be sustainable. And so
Okay.
you're always looking for that best option that's going to fit everything, but really like not having anything go to waste would be the goal.
Exactly. Um, there are things that are to the point where they have a point where they just can't fall into that category.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the oily waters, things of that nature, sometimes can't fall into a reuse or a recycle program. Maybe because there's too much water, or it may have too much silicone, or it, Lord only knows what can what can end up in it. So it makes things in that aspect a little bit tougher, but again, it makes it fun because it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So you start hunting for the places for it to go to, and you're always trying to make it better for that client or customer. Um, and always the best part of it is that it's a great leg or stepping stool for your customer service side because you show a little bit more to the customer that you're working for them. You're trying to make it better for them,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's a real pain and it's very time consuming. We're always trying to better for the customer. So it makes it fun. Like I said, it's a challenge. Some days you want to go home and just beat your head against the wall. And other days everything like falls right into place
Right.
and it plays out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have a lot of those customers that are very unique. Um, a couple of food manufacturers that we deal with, 90% of their stuff all ends up at, I'm going to put a plug in for Silver Creek, um, goes to Silver Creek and it goes um, into their recycling program, into the mulch and recycling on their side. Um, and then we have another vendor that focuses on oils, paints, um, plastics, computer boards. It's another vendor for us, and they're up and coming and growing very quickly, which is VLS. You've probably heard of them before. They're down in Hockley. We use them for a lot of things, um, and they're a huge contributor to our reuse and recycle program because they have a lot of outlets. They use a lot of the cement kilns, which anything that's non-hazardous, except for a couple. There's a couple out there that still burn haz waste. But for the most part, they deal with the non-haz side of the recycling. If they can get it small enough or get it as a liquid where it's flowable, um, they try to feed it into a cement kiln and it goes as zero waste because it's being used as a fuel and it's being used to lessen their fuel or their natural gas or coal consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So it falls into two different categories. It's a resource reduction, and it's going for reuse instead of disposal.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, there's a little loophole in there that
Mm-hmm.
makes it kind of weird, but um, it works. And there are quite a few of the cement kilns. Well, there's three of them right here in the Dallas Fort Worth area they use tires, they use supplement fuels, oils, um, mineral oils from cosmetics. We have a couple of lotions that are flowable enough that once they apply a little heat to it, it becomes more liquid and it pumps right into the cement kiln and reduces their usage of natural gas. And so it's a whole balancing thing.
Mm-hmm.
and works for both sides of the
Right.
business.
Yeah, that's very cool, and to learn about it because it seems like that's not something that, a lot of people would be like to have that understanding of that process because it's like you don't really think about the waste, whether it's hazardous or non-hazardous, and then
Right.
being able to use some of it to lessen the need for natural gas and to use it to be able to repurpose it and it not just go to waste as well.
Exactly. And it keeps it out of the landfill. Um,
And that's huge because are you finding like, over time, because as long as you've been in this part of the industry, is it getting more common to be a part of the reuse and recycle programs or the landfills getting bigger?
it comes and goes.
Okay.
It's kind of an ebb and flow. Um, for a while, everyone's trying to do everything they can to get into a reuse or recycle program, and then it kind of shifts gears slowly, and they like don't. I won't say they don't care. They just don't
They
fight.
lose that
Yeah,
discipline of, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I guess that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we see or what we have seen, um, there are quite a few things that can go into uh, a landfill. Of course, you can't well, back up. There are has waste landfills too, but here locally, most of the things that are going to well, all the things that are going to the landfill are non-has. Um, they have to fit into a very specific criteria. Then there's no deviation one way or the other. It's got to be set dead on. The has waste side of it, there are a couple has waste facility or has waste landfills too, but we try not to take anything to those unless we absolutely have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the things that are harder is like some of the acid waste streams are difficult. The incinerators don't want them because the pH is just way off, either one too high or too low for the acid or the caustic side, um, or the alkaline side. I'm sorry. Uh, so those normally, unfortunately, probably end up either up in Arkansas or down in. Uh, I just lost it. One ran out of my mind. Um,
Why would it end up in Arkansas? What's the significance
there's
there?
a has waste landfill up in Arkansas, which is just purchased here about 3 years ago. From Veolia purchased it. Um, they've done great things with it. Um, they do a lot of stuff up there that comes in out of the country. Um, so it has to go through customs, all that good fun stuff. And it's treated and disposed of up there. But they also put in, or they're doing their test runs right now. And I think, if I remember correctly, their kiln, it's a double barrel, what they call a double barrel kiln, um, to where they'll be able to have or process fuels up there also, and lab packs and whatever else. Um, it's going to be one of the largest waste kilns in the country when it's finished. Um, have a lot of people that are on that side of the fence that I can keep up with what's going on. And I believe right now they're doing the first kiln is done, and I think they're doing their test burns on that now, which they have to go through like 6 months worth of testing with an EPA agent standing right there the whole time,
Oh wow, so it's
watching everything that goes in and out,
there's a
watching
lot.
all the yeah, it's crazy. Um, Arkwood, or what used to be Heritage, is now Arkwood. Just brought theirs online down in Orange, Texas. Um, they are also a very good partner of ours, um, and we take quite a bit of fuels that can be used in the kiln or supplement fuels. We take quite a few things to them also. Um, a majority of that's usually the paint waste for instance, because it's a good fuel. We can move it in state and keep it non-hazardous under the universal regs, and we get a pretty good rate from Heritage, so it makes it convenient to keep it in state. Um, there are a couple places that it can go to out of state, but that then you got to remanifest. You got a whole different can of worms you got to open.
Just there's just a lot when it comes to environmental or recycling. Like, do you think that that's where some people get out of that practice of like just being so, um, really just dialed into to trying to repurpose something because there's so much red tape, so many regulations just to get it to where
There
it
are.
needs to go.
There are quite a few, and you got to be very careful. And some clients, customers, they tell us what they got, and they just say, "Make it go away."
Yeah, because they don't want they've got their operation.
They
You know,
got
they're
their
just
stuff to do,
they're like do something with this. Like you guys know what you're doing. Just
right? And the nice thing is we have a couple of chemists that we work with, and we have several over in the Shreveport office. We have a couple of professional engineers and geologists. So if we find something or we stumble on something, they have a little bit more knowledge, education wise, of maybe some other alternatives that we could possibly look at too.
yeah,
Um,
because you're always having to really like dial in and kind of put your heads together or use your resources to figure out what to do with a lot of this
yeah,
waste.
and it's very convenient to keep a lot of your acquaintances over the years. Not necessarily keep them in your back pocket, but keep communication open with them
Mm-hmm.
because you never know they might have dealt with something that you're like struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always great to have that network of a ton of people uh, to help answer a question, help find a new avenue.
Yeah, because it's always evolving, and there's so many different, like you said. I mean, just like the technical aspect of all of it. Like, there's no
Sure.
one size fits all with any of it.
No, not at all. There are a few things that are cookie cutter, if you will, but a lot of it isn't so
It's
much
just
cookie
like
cutter.
every situation's going to be a little bit different.
Just slightly, yeah.
What your customers are wanting, what you have access to, and what's available.
Right. And to the other side of that coin, not only that part of it, but the part that we strive on the most is our customer service. Anytime they call, we're there. Um, would they have our phone numbers? They can call us at any given time, day or night. We don't care because we want to be there to make sure that we can get them taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're not to the point of emergency response, and we don't want to be an ER group.
'Cause
Um,
that's a whole different.
that's a whole different world
Yeah.
too. Um, and I've done that before, and it's not much fun because you never get to sleep. Um,
Yeah.
but we want to be able to let them have an avenue. So if they have a situation, they can call us anytime to help them, you know, get through the situation. If they need special services, we can help them find special services,
Mm-hmm.
a waste, an ER group, or they need special tank cleanings or anything like that, of course. And then that brings us to our tank cleaning division. We have a full team that can all do confined space entry. Um, so we can do just about anything that's out there as far as a tank cleaning project or something like that might come up.
And that's pretty, like, you guys have grown quite a bit with industrial tank cleaning since you got started. And
Yeah,
it's,
the nice thing is the oil and gas industry are feeding us pretty well right now.
well, that's what I would think. Like, that seems like it might be a little bit more in demand in, like, West Texas region.
Right now, yeah, we're actually we just got done doing a job up in Cushing's, Oklahoma. We were up there for 4 weeks.
Oh, you were telling me about that. That's where
Yeah,
that, is that the tank
it's one of the
farm?
big tank farms up there in
Okay, that's
Cushing's.
very interesting.
And we're fixing to head out Monday morning. The crew's headed for Kansas City or Kansas. Not necessarily, it's outside Kansas City, but there's another massive tank farm up there that supplies into the Midwest. So
So
we're
these
doing,
regions, like kind of what you were explaining to me before, that there's tank farms like this strategically placed
yes,
in different parts of the country.
hmm
So logistically, it makes more sense. It's more cost efficient. So the trucks are coming in, they're getting filled up, and then they're taking the fuel to the retail service stations.
correct. Yep. And that's where we kind of we fit in that area pretty well. Not only with the tank cleaning side, but also with our division that's over in Shreveport. That's all they do is oil or gas and fuel stations, tanks, soil remediation, water remediation, or reclamation. So it kind of works together
Mm-hmm.
in one way, and in another way it doesn't. But it all kind of works together. So all the stuff that we've been picking up with the oil and gas industry is also feeding our Jones division over in Shreveport with the service stations and if they need remediation done, we have the equipment and the PE and the geologists to go up and help with those situations too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so with the tank farms, like we were talking, like you and I talked about earlier, they're they're strategically placed throughout the country. Excuse me. So you have, like, say, Cushing's, um, the Kansas City facility. There's one over in Georgia. There's one in Florida, up in the upper part of the peninsula. Um, there's some up in New Jersey. They're kind of they're very strategic, and they're all connected somehow or some way through pipelines and whatnot through the refineries and stuff down in Houston or in Mississippi
Okay.
or Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a whole string right there.
Right.
But and they actually, some of it gets trucked up there, but a majority of it is actually piped. It's underground pipelines that are,
From the
yeah,
refineries.
right from the refinery. So it saves cost wise, for the refinery to get the fuel moved to the East Coast, the West Coast,
Yeah.
north,
Well,
south.
and that makes sense too, because when you have your natural gas pipelines that are from point A to point B, like those are your points. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's because like like I grew up around the pipeline, so I'm familiar with that work,
Right,
but you don't necessarily have that external knowledge of what's happening around it. You're there for the work.
right,
But to know, like to kind of get a sense of the geography of it and then the process that if it's going from the refinery to a tank farm that's eventually going to be trucked to a service station, that's how we're getting our fuel when we go to the gas station.
right. Yep. And it's, once you kind of learn that, it's kind of it's interesting because you never really thought about it before.
No.
You always thought that, oh, you see the big rig going down the road,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking, oh, well, he's bringing in some more gas. Well, he's
Mm-hmm.
probably just picked up from one of the tank farms and he's moving it to a service station.
Yeah.
Um,
That's interesting to hear like that whole chain because you might be at a service station and see the truck come in and he's obviously filling up. You can see that process, but you never really give it any thought where it actually came from.
right,
And so to like take it all the way back to the refinery and understand and even to have that knowledge that there are these tank farms that are placed around the country, like you
right.
wouldn't really have that general
No,
knowledge.
exactly. People, like you say, you don't think about it until it's someone actually explains or points it out to you.
And
And
really,
then
like, I think the way that you'd put it too, it's like kind of the connection of the midstream to the downstream,
mid down,
like as far as part of the market. And so understanding what that is,
right.
and then like us as consumers in that retail space, it's like just really being kind of a part of that process.
Yeah, yeah. And it's something that I've learned over the past 30 plus years of being in this industry. You learn a lot of different things. Um, when I first got into this industry, it was the whole oil recycling was really getting to be big. Instead of people taking their used oil for fuel or burning it in an oil burner for heat, we were actually picking it up and recycling it back to a usable grade engine oil. Um, so that was an interesting learn and understanding the process, and that actually graduated into more and more things of understanding how the oil and gas industry works and being an active part of it basically throughout my entire career. Um, so I've learned little tidbits of little things
Mm-hmm.
and start
Yeah,
seaming them
me
together.
too. I mean, even like with my show and my experience, like you learn things, and it's like the oil and gas industry like plays such a pivotal part in so many nuances that you wouldn't necessarily think about. Or there's so much opportunity, especially in the recycling space. I've learned so much about how it can be repurposed and reused and not just, like you said, being just gone
Burnt.
to waste, burnt. Yeah.
Yeah, burnt. And there are, and there's another part of the industry too that, on like, I'll use for instance the used oil industry. Yes, there are recyclers or re-refiners that re-refine the oil, but there's also a couple of them that take the oil and make bulkhead fuel out of it for the ocean liners.
Interesting.
So yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize is that when a ship comes into shore, let's say we're going to use Houston because we're here in Texas. We don't care about anybody else. When the ocean liners come in, when they hit the 100-mile mark at offshore or onshore, whichever way you want to look at it, they have to switch from what they call bulkhead fuel to straight diesel because it burns cleaner.
Mm.
So when they're coming in, they have to be on diesel fuel, and they have to be on diesel fuel when they go out of
Okay.
port. When they hit that 100-mile mark or just over that 100-mile mark offshore, they can shut off the diesel and switch to burning oil in the engines instead of burning up diesel fuel.
Okay.
So there's several companies that actually blend used oils together to make bulkhead fuel for the shipping industry. So it's it's not really going to waste. Um, it's not being recycled, but it's not going to waste. It's not just being
It's repurposed.
right. It's
Yeah.
that's a better that's a better
There's
word for
so
it.
many different, like, gray areas in all of this because there's, like, again, there's not a lot of cookie cutter, and it's not just general across the board because it can be repurposed in different ways. It's
Sure.
just like the
Yep.
efficiency of it, because cost efficiency is going to be important, and then like the sustainability initiative, like
Hmm.
how close can we get to that clean carbon footprint,
Right.
and so it's like it's kind of a matter of how it's repurposed too. So there's different levels just within that.
Sure. Exactly. And I I'll say in this industry that you bring up the carbon footprint. Um, it's crazy that more people aren't overly concerned with that quote unquote carbon footprint. I mean, they are to a certain point, but they also know in some of the specific industries, it's not achievable.
Mm.
They're always going to have some type of air emission coming off. Um, so it makes it tough for them to be a good steward, if you will,
Mm.
for that word, the greener side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's tough to get people into that because of the type of industries that we are dealing with. There are some that fit into it perfectly, and they can show that they are reclaiming everything that comes out of their plant. And there's others that fall into a category where no matter how hard they try, they can't quite get into that situation or utilize some of those rules that are applicable to what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fine line, and like you said, there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah.
Um, Even though the books are printed black and white, there's a lot of fine lines in between that it's hard to make those mesh together
Right.
perfectly.
I think just seeing, like, across the board, like, one, knowing that there's so much that we can do, that we are doing in a lot of ways where we are repurposing or reusing, and just getting a little bit stronger narrative around that.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that can participate in a reuse or repurposing type program, reuse or recycle, that they have the knowledge and like obvious like the resource to seek it out, because I mean it can be overwhelming, like just understanding like what you are trying to recycle or what is going to waste, and because that's like a whole part of the industry that I feel like isn't as it's not as embraced, because I think it's like there's you kind of get on one side or the other. It's like there's environmental regulations, and then there's the actual operation, and it's hard to bring the two together to have the conversation, because environmental wants it 100%, and the operations are just trying to keep their business afloat, or they want to stay moving forward, and you
Right.
maybe don't have the time or the interest
Yeah.
in learning all of this, because it does, like you said, it's time consuming just for you to find the different places where you can recycle.
Hmm.
And then, to have, someone like Jones Environmental that can assist these oil and gas companies and help them and, develop a program for themselves. And so,
Right.
like, I think it's like just kind of trying to bring everybody together.
And we're trying to do the same thing for just industry also. We do several manufacturers throughout Dallas Fort Worth, um, down all the way down into Austin. We're trying to spread further west and get out towards the Midland, Odessa, Abilene, Lubbock areas. Um, it's just right now it's tough for us to get out there, and it's not because we don't have the manpower. It's because we're so busy here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we're trying to expand. We're looking at actually even putting a small satellite office out either in Abilene or maybe in Midland, Odessa, to try to help bring that cost down so we don't have as much trucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also help reduce man hours. So we're not, from here to run to Midland, Odessa. From Weatherford, it's not bad. It's roughly 4 hours, give or take a little bit. Um, but to run a truck out there 4 hours to do two or three pickups and then have him run all the way back for 4 hours, we can't give that cost effective service back
Right.
to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to do, and that's what we're trying to get set up. Um, we have a teeny tiny footprint out there, not very big yet, um, and but we're trying to get it to that point.
Yeah.
Um, I've been out there for a few weeks, and I'm fixing to go out there again here towards the tail end of the month, or yeah, towards the tail end of the month. I'm going to be out there for about 4 weeks, just knocking on doors, trying to get something gelled together,
Mm-hmm.
to where we can, rent a small space, keep a truck out there, and hire a driver, um, and then run shuttles when we need to have waste moved.
Yeah.
So it'll
Absolutely.
make it more cost effective, and we can pass that on to all the clients that we'll have
Mm-hmm.
between Midland, Odessa, Lubbock, and Abilene areas.
That whole region, yeah, and I mean it's a lot, because it's a world of its own, the Permian
That it
Basin.
is.
But as much as you've grown just in the last 7 months, and really like being able to go from using a third party for everything to having your own trucks and trailers, like you are growing into that
Yes,
region. Like it definitely seems like that's the next viable step. But you're right, as far as it being a cost effective solution, you have to be set up also.
right.
But you've done everything very, like, you and the team have done everything strategically to where you're now operating very independently. You still value your third party relationships,
Absolutely.
and you'll always need them in a sense, because if you get busy or you have a lot going on. And I think you told me about one third party that you have to use when you're moving explosives.
Yes.
What was the significance of that, or from the explosives on? Was it frac sites?
No, we do a couple of manufacturers that actually develop or make downhole explosives. Um, and we take care of all their explosive ordnance, the caps, they got, the list is unbelievable as far as what they make. But what we do is they give us an inventory list, and there's only two places in the continental U.S. that can handle or dispose of ordnance. One of them's up in the southern part of Illinois, right on the Missouri-Illinois border. That's probably one of the most prevalent ones. So those drivers and their teams always come as teams. You'll never see a single driver with an explosives load because someone always has to be awake with that truck. So they come in with a special trailer that's built, and it's got batteries, what they call batteries on them. They're just basically individual Connex boxes, but they're smaller, so they can fit drums or pallet or whatever it may be inside that container. It gets locked, it gets sealed, everything's documented. The nice thing about those is that we hire them and we don't do anything except stand there and say, "Yep, it got loaded," because the paperwork is so specific and it has to be absolutely perfect. If they get pulled over anywhere and it's not in line, they're not, let's say they get off their, because they have to have a dedicated roads to be traveling on, they have to have a physical map of that road. Um, any stops in between where they can get fuel that's a safe, for the lack of a better word, a safe haven. So they can get off the road, get fuel, switch drivers, eat dinner, whatever the case may be, but they have to do it in shifts no matter what, because someone always has to be with that truck.
And is it the liability of what they're carrying?
Yes, the and the DOT has a big play in that one. Uh,
Sure.
those guys don't like to play around when it comes to like explosives. They get very sensitive very quickly, especially after 9/11.
Yeah.
A lot of things
Yeah,
changed.
because, well, of course, it's like, being extra cautious, but I mean, that's something that you might not really think of, that what's being the cargo on those trailers could be used for ill-gotten gain.
Yeah, and well, and it works the same way with some of the tankers that even we deal with sometimes. They have to, that tanker is watched everywhere it goes. Um, we actually have trackers on our tankers, so if someone was to even come in and steal our tanker, we know where it's at.
That's good.
Um, and it works that way even with the dry vans or anything like that. You you have to be able to tell if it came up missing. You hopefully you have a really good excuse, but there probably isn't one.
Right.
And then you're going to have all kinds of people like Homeland Security. They're going to have DOT. You're going to have EPA. You might even have the president sitting on your front step going, "What did you do?"
Right.
So it's that other side of the business that we also have to be very concerned with, that we're taking care of materials in the right way. We're transporting them in the proper fashion. They're being watched and cared for as they need to be. And again, we're still pushing that back to the customer service value. That value is everything to us. So we don't want any accidents.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want any trucks to come up missing or
No.
stolen.
Right.
Whether they're sitting in the yard and they're completely empty, it really doesn't matter. It's still something that can potentially happen and it not be empty.
Mm-hmm.
So we, again,
Yeah, that's
it,
another level of liability.
yeah. So I mean, we have really good insurance, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all those things that are compiled into one thing that all stems off one point or direction of total customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best value for the best service, and that's what we try to give everyone.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand, and it seems like the company has grown, and I mean, just having that solid business relationship again with the service stations all the way back into the 80s
Yeah,
for Jones, and now developing in the DFW area and making your way out to the Permian, and having the different trailers that you have, and the one that you just recently got, that's the
our
stainless
new
steel.
stainless steel
Yeah,
tank.
and because you can, in that, it's the acidic and the caustic
Yep. So we
loads.
can do either acid or alkaline with it. Um, and we purchased it to deal with one specific customer that we take a caustic load every week from every Thursday today. Um, but we're also expanding that too. We just recently started talking with another customer that also has the type situation, and we're in conversations with a couple others down in Austin that I can't disclose, but we're trying to get those also lined up. And if that's the case, we'll actually have to go into scramble mode and probably pick up two more stainless steel tankers. Um,
It's not a
it's
bad problem to
Yeah,
have.
exactly. The only drawback is the build time, because we're building it's a custom trailer, so we're building it to a couple different specs that we want. Not that you can't go out and just buy one off the lot, because you can, but they try with those tankers, the stainless steel ones especially. They try not to build those because there are little nuances that each hauler or customer that's purchasing it needs for that trailer. Um, it still does the same thing. It's just maybe set up a little differently.
Hmm.
It may be a side load instead of a rear load, or
Right.
it may be both front and side load, or back or rear and side load. Um, so there's a lot of little things, but if that comes to fruition, that's going to be a huge leap for us. It's going to really solidify us in a lot of industry in a couple of different places, and that's probably going to be the explosion side of Jones, where it goes big and bad all in the drop of a hat.
Right.
Um, we're working on that big right now. We're getting there.
Yeah,
We're
that's
starting
exciting.
we're turning a lot of stuff and making people stop and think about what they're doing.
Right.
So again, and not in a bad way
Yeah,
by
no,
any
it's
means.
huge. It's like, I mean, again, like with my show, it's more about just offering the education because there's so much that we're not aware of or that just like not being exposed to, not
Hmm.
having, not having those connections. And so it's, just having an understanding of taking that next step
Yes.
and how to be able to do it. And so to have someone like Jones like be a partner in that where you're not just trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, I have to give kudos to the Jones family. They believed in us, um, and jumped in with both feet. Cameron, our CEO, I wished he would have came over, but he's a little. He says I don't do cameras well. I'm like, well, do you think I do? But anyway, the Jones family has been absolutely spectacular for us and to us. They've pretty much given us everything that we've asked for as far as a need to grow the industry, the business here. Um, there's been a few things that Cameron's like say, whoa, 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 wait a minute, let's make sure this is all in play and good to
Right.
go. And he says, then we'll take the leap,
Mhm.
which is what we did with the stainless steel tanker. We waited to see how the customer was how it was all going to work. Um, and he's seen that it was a good profit, it was good turn revenue for the company, and we can get an ROI on the trailer in a matter of a year. So
Nice.
that made him go, okay, this is worth
Mhm.
jumping both feet into. Let's get it built.
Yeah.
And those trailers are not cheap by any means.
Mhm.
You're brushing the $300,000 mark on those trailers,
Right.
so they're an expensive trailer, but he wrote a check for it, and we went and bought it.
Wow, that's
So,
exciting.
yeah, so
And
it's
validating too. You guys are
exact.
going in the right direction. There's
Yes,
momentum there.
yeah, and again, we're growing as fast as we can possibly grow, without taking on too much all at once and falling
Mhm.
flat on your face.
Yeah, I mean, because that happens a lot. It's like you overshoot, and then you can't like. There's so many things that can fall through. Whether it's customer service, being spread too thin, not having a driver to cover something,
Right.
and so it's important to grow strategically and be able to kind of sit back and see what's working and
Yes.
then take that next step, which
Yeah.
that can be true of any industry and any company. But yeah, that's awesome that you were able to find a company like Jones that was established and
Hmm.
supportive, but also offering, it's like their counsel and, like really being able to like take what they're saying and utilize it.
Yeah.
And,
And
it's like he's definitely, supportive and believes in you guys, but he can also see it from the outside looking in as well and making sure that you have what you need while it's manageable growth for the company.
yes, and that's one of the things, because Cameron's a huge numbers guy. An accountant by trade.
Okay, yeah, that
So
makes
yeah,
sense.
he's watching all the numbers. So it's really cool that we've been able to take something at ground zero, where it was coming out the door, basically operating in essence in the red, and turn it around in a very short period of time and not be in the red anymore.
Yeah, that's cool.
So like I said,
Especially in this space.
yeah,
When you're
yeah,
talking
it's
reuse
tough.
and recycle, it's like you really have to be inside that niche and know what you're doing and know what's possible for it to turn a profit and
Right.
to be profitable long term.
And to be able to share it with the customer too,
Yes.
because they get a return too. may not be quote unquote monetary, but it's regulatory. They get more of a value.
Exactly. There's value
Um,
in that.
so that falls into the whole game plan that we have working. Um, it's fun every day. Um, there's not a day that I don't get out of bed with a plan already developed in my head
Right.
of where I need to go and who I need to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it and we're all working the same way as far as the three of us that started it. Um, we all have our own little niche. We're all focused on our little niche and working with each other to make it grow and be the best that there are out there. And that's our goal, is to be the best and take over. I mean, not take over the industry, but be a good stakeholder
Yeah,
in the industry.
absolutely. And I have no doubt that that's what's happening. I've seen the growth. I appreciate you letting me be a part of it, and for you coming on the show today and kind of sharing the history of the company as well as the services and
Sure.
some education that we might not have been aware of.
And we're always here for education.
That's great.
Always, you never can learn enough.
You really can't. There's always something new, and so I appreciate everything that you've shared today, and look forward to seeing the growth of Jones Environmental.
Yeah. Thanks, Reezy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks again. And thank you everyone for watching Power of the Permian. We'll see you next time.